Think about how you were driving at the age of 18 to 20.
I feel like if a man is old enough to get sent to war, he should be old enough to make a living in whatever that he choose to make a living with. And so if he wants to get into the trucking industry at 18 years old because he can go to war for the country at 18, I feel like he should be able to drive.
There's a push from, tech companies to supplement the driver shortage with these autonomous trucks, right? Do you all feel threatened by the self-driving trucks, or is it because of the very reason that you stated that self-driving trucks don't really understand how to adapt in these fluid situations?
Yeah, right. So I don't give it a second thought, because any real driver knows that when making decisions out here on these highways, you cannot be binary with your approach.
Welcome to Azigos, where we talk raw, real, and unfiltered about the trucking industry. But we don't just leave it there. We also empower those ready to reclaim and drive the future of the trucking industry. On today's episode, we discuss whether or not there's really a true driver shortage or whether or not it's a myth. So come and join us today in the Truckers Lounge. That's Azigos, the Truckers Lounge. How are you doing today, KT?
Hey, how you doing, Tracy?
Did I get it right? I did not call you by your government name.
Right. But, the people probably already know anyway, but that's cool. That's fine.
No worries.
I don't never stay in the same place twice, so.
Okay, not an issue.
Right.
Are you ready for another great episode today?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. I should enjoy it.
Okay.
I love this topic.
All right. So today we're talking about driver shortage, whether or not it's myth, math, or mismanagement. So the impetus of today's topic really has a lot to do with a post that I saw on LinkedIn where the American Trucking Association is claiming that there's a shortage of over 80,000 truckers, and that that's really going to have an impact on the trucking industry. There is discussion as to remedies on how to actually address that. One of those remedies that's being tossed around is whether or not there should be a lowering of the trucking age requirement, whether or not drivers age 18 to 20 should be allowed to drive. There are some other remedies that we're going to get into. But first of all, let's just start at the top, whether or not we really believe there's a driving shortage, or whether or not, there's a really deeper problem. So I'll stop there and let you just talk about that. Do you really believe there is a driving shortage, Kevin?
I believe that it's always going to be a driver shortage. And even if you go beyond that, it's always going to be a need it's definitely a need for quality drivers. Mm-hmm. There's a severe shortage of quality drivers. That's why, the trucking industry has become so oppressive to drivers and stuff, and part of the reason you got a shortage, because I know so many big truck drivers that have CDLs, but they're not even using it. They don't chose to go into a different industry because of the oppression and the rules and the things you have to deal with out there on the road.
Okay.
Right.
So it really sounds like there's a retention problem too.
It's definitely a retention problem, but I know a lot of drivers, especially, those with their own business, they feel like it's some type of red herring or backdooring going on. Mm-hmm. They keep talking about there's a shortage of drivers, but when they look at their rates and things of that nature, they're feeling like, well, it couldn't be a shortage of drivers because they feel like it will be a direct correlation to the rates going up.
Okay.
Which is, if you paid attention to previous episodes, you will see they don't have nothing to do well, why the rates are low.
Okay. So then let's talk about some of these fixes that they're trying to recommend. And one of them is lowering the driving age to
Right.
18 to 20. On
Right.
the one hand, one argument is that it increases the labor pool, right, to be able to lower the driving age. But those against it says that it's a safety risk. What is your perspective on it? Should they lower the driving age? Do you recommend 18 to 20-year-olds get behind an 18-wheeler? Would you trust an 18 to 20-year-old when you think about all the responsibility, 80,000 plus tons,
Right.
on the road at that young age?
Right.
Think about how you were driving at the age of 18 to 20.
I feel like if a man is old enough to get sent to war, he should be old enough to make a living in whatever that he choose to make a living with. And so if
Really?
he wants to get into the trucking industry at 18 years old because he can go to war for the country at 18, I feel like he should be able to drive. I feel like it's things that could be put in place that are already in place to force a driver to be more responsible or mature behind the wheel.
Okay.
I don't feel like age has anything to do with it because, of course, I've been driving for 20 years. And I definitely, in the beginning of my tenure, most of the super truckers were graybeards. Yeah, they'll drive 100 miles per hour. They'll run you out the road, if you try to keep them from getting over. They take all kind of chances behind the truck, and, they had that salt and pepper in their beard. If you come from that era, you felt some type of endowment being behind an 18-wheeler. And even unto this day, as for me, I still take a chance or two. It ain't got nothing to do with my age. I feel like a 18-year-old or 19-year-old is easy to get them to stay within the training that they've been trained with. That's the purpose of the AI camera.
Okay. So, but if you were to take, just for a second, for the sake of argument, take the industry, the tractor trailer out of it for a second.
Right.
Data shows that younger drivers are more likely to be involved in accidents. Age is correlated with risk taking. That's why typically insurance companies charge more to insure younger drivers. They tend to be inexperienced when they're a younger driver. That's why insurance costs are far higher. Ask any parent out there, they will tell you it costs an arm and a leg to try to insure teenage drivers. So just thinking about that whole line of reasoning from the lens of the insurance companies, if they know it costs more and there are higher risks with insuring younger drivers, why would the trucking industry take on that risk?
Well, once again, I just told you, the AI camera, with that AI camera on you, it has made me, because I have an AI camera in my truck, and it has made me a better driver in and out the truck. It has made me a better driver being on a forklift. You follow me? Because it has reconditioned my mind to feel like something is watching me at all times. So I know how to drive properly at all times. And therefore, I was forced to do it by having the AI camera pointed on me. And now it has become mechanical, no matter if I'm behind any heavy equipment. And you cannot compare four-wheelers to 18-wheelers. You know what I mean? Because the consequences of you driving like that in a car, you're not losing a career. So an 18-year-old or young folks in a regular vehicle, a four-wheeler, is not the same of an 18-year-old in an 18-wheeler. Because now he has a career at stake.
Okay.
And the type of career that we have, it should have, high equity, high value to have a CDL.
Okay.
Because you'll be able to take care of yourself and your family.
Okay. So your argument, it isn't so much about the age, but it's more about having, parameters in place, to sort of force people to take on more safety.
Unfortunately, you're right. We living in the age of surveillance. So why not use the technology, you know what
Okay.
I'm saying, to make the safety better? Of course, I'm from one of those, don't cut me off too quick. I know you're trying to go quick.
Oh no,
But
I wasn't gonna.
yeah, so, but yeah. So basically what I'm saying is, the technology exists for, to have that AI camera to protect you from yourself and to protect you for the people that you out on the road with. And, one thing about the AI camera, it's binary, so I could look too long at my lighter, lighting my black and mild, and it will be like distracted driving. So it ain't taking feelings and special considerations or special circumstances in consideration. Is binary, so it makes you be more mechanical in your driving efforts, which of course gonna make you more safer. So while that works for a guy that been driving for 20 years, it could work for a person that's been driving for 1 year or 2 years. Age don't really matter when you have that AI camera on you.
Okay. Let's talk about another fix,
Right.
a recommendation to allegedly addressing the driver shortage, which is tapping into immigrant labor. Some have suggested tapping immigrant workers to fill this, perceived gap in the
Right.
driver shortage. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm adamantly against, what I'm saying, immigrant workers, because the simple fact of the matter, you're tapping into a system where you don't have really real any skin in the game. You know what I mean? You taking a situation that's finite and you bringing in people, you know what I'm saying, as if it's got an affinity type concept. I'm using big words, but I'm still a regular truck driver. Trust me. But yeah, so when you bring in the immigrants to take from a system that they ain't necessarily put into, yeah, that's gonna cause the pot to get a little shorter, you know what I mean? Because they're coming from a different culture and a different background. They bottom line different to somebody who's a couple of generations over here. Let's just keep it real. They women or whatever it may have you, they family don't mind living in an extended family condition. You have 2, 3, 4 families living together in the same house. So, they can stretch a penny, they can stretch a dollar a lot further. I'm coming from a culture where your queen gonna want her own space, and you can't have 2 queens in the house. So I have to take care of things on a different level. So I can't stretch the dollar in the same capacity that an immigrant can, because they're coming from more meager situation than what I'm coming from. So I'm expected to do more. So with me being expected to do more as being a natural born citizen of America, because of our culture, I need the resources to be able to do that. And somebody who's not coming from that same culture shouldn't be able to come here and take away. That's how I feel. And of course, it might not be popular, but I agree with Trump. See, what a lot of people don't know, reason that law was passed for is, you got to be able to speak the language and read the language fluently, because what a lot of drivers know right now, they doing construction all over the country.
Okay.
And so, of course, driving conditions are fluid. And if you can't read those signs, like, you know what I'm saying, in second nature, because it's a fluid situation, you have the possibility of killing, injuring an innocent person. And that's what happened in Arkansas. It was a major collision where a family died because an immigrant CDL driver couldn't read the traffic patterns.
Okay.
And so that's now you're talking about a safety issue, which, is no way to get around that. If you can't read the language or speak the language in real time, it's too many bang bang situations.
Okay.
See, I want to add one more thing before we go. Like me and one of my fellow drivers, we joked. We were like, driving a truck out here on the road is like playing a video game where you can't press the reset button. You know, if you mess up, then you could go to jail or have to change careers. That's how the hand-eye coordination and the thinking, you need to be able to do that second nature.
Right. And that really leads into another issue almost, because, there's a push from, tech companies to really also as another fix to supplement the driver shortage with these autonomous trucks, right? With these self-driving trucks. Do you all feel threatened by the self-driving trucks, or is it because of the very reason that you stated that self-driving trucks don't really understand how to adapt in these fluid situations?
Yeah, right. So I don't give it a second thought because any real driver knows that when making decisions out here on these highways, you cannot be binary with your approach. You can be, with the AI, you can be binary for it's not no consequences for the AI camera being binary for life and death or things of that nature. It's about a point system, for a man standing behind that AI camera can decide if that what the AI camera picked up is worthy for punishment or losing points. But that's a totally different situation when you're talking about being on the road. Like, you can't follow the rules to a T. You got to have executive decision making. You're going to have to do some things that go against the rules to be able to make it work. So it's just very simple. Let's just say you are in Tennessee Hills or going up one of them 2-lane highways, coming down or go around one of those mountains. I ain't talking about on the expressway. I'm talking about like you're actually on a 2-lane highway. It's nowhere possible you're going to get that 50 feet, 60 feet, 53 foot a trailer around a mountain going around a curve, stand in your lane. You're going to have to go out into the oncoming traffic to get your trailer around that mountain. You follow me?
And so a driveless truck would not go outside the lane to be able to maneuver that.
Right. That's just something very simple. Very simple.
Right.
There's no way possible you can drive in congestion. You know what I mean? When you get close to the city, you might can do an autonomous truck out there in the West, in the flatlands. But when you talking about getting to these congested cities and the things you have to do, for you got soft shoulders, where, your trailer could fall off. You got to break a lot of rules to be able to drive 70 feet on roads that's not built for 70 feet.
Right. And a lot of times people who are developing these new technologies have never been behind the truck.
They have never been behind a truck. You know what I mean? That's why, to be able to keep their job and make what they do purposeful, they just coming up with stuff to do weekly, daily, or whatever, because they trying to make sure that they can show that they need it. You know what I mean? But they're not necessarily people that's coming from driving a truck. Because usually higher education and having a CDL, they usually don't go hand in hand.
Right.
They definitely not coming from actually driving a truck.
So that's why the technology has been lagging that actually empowers drivers, because it really has not been built for a driver by a driver.
Right. Because, most drivers, man, we simple people. We common people. We come from, don't take this in a derogatory way, but, we come from, from the streets, from the trenches, or from the trailer parks, or from country, rural towns. You know what I mean? We are the true representatives of the American way. We rebels by nature. We really ain't the type to conform to society. That's really where we coming from. So we like a bird that been let out the cage. Nobody from the top is going to save us. That part of it has been to our detriment. We going to have to save ourselves.
So really, you all have to be at the forefront of finding a way to turn the industry around to keep and retain the experienced drivers. And what do you think are just three quick ways the industry can turn around to keep and retain the experienced drivers? Because, like you mentioned earlier, you know drivers who are experienced who have a CDL who aren't even using it. They've pivoted to other parts, to other jobs completely or other parts in the industry. So, what are three key areas you think the industry needs to do to retain the experienced drivers as opposed to going to these quick fixes that don't really solve the problem?
The number one way is us, the big truck driver, man. We gonna have to start collecting our own data. I mean, that's one thing about it, man. We got to be able to use the fresh new chat
GPT,
GPT type technology. We got to use it, and we got to leverage
AI.
Yeah, we got to leverage it in our favor, man. We got to start collecting us, the drivers. We got to start recording our data from a non-biased occasion to be able to show what we going through and what we have to deal with and what's working against us, you know what I mean, on a daily manner, on a daily basis.
Okay.
We gonna have to do that. That's number one. Number two, when you talk about safeties and drivers and things of that nature, to all my bilingual brothers out there, y'all gonna have to, who speak English and these other languages, man, when y'all get to these facilities and stuff, man, y'all gonna have to pull, the foreigner off to the side and kind of tell them like truck etiquette, man. I don't know how many times, man, I don't, we ain't got number two lanes, man. We got the lane to the right, and more times than not, we got the hammer lane. We call it the hammer lane for a reason. And I end up having to break a rule because I'm trying to get up and go into a left lane and when I'm passing, I see a foreigner, taking his time in the hammer lane. And really, you got an immigrant taking his time in the hammer lane, and he don't really understand.
Okay.
So I'm gonna need my bilingual drivers. I'm gonna need y'all to start, pulling y'all, fellow, Espanol or, Venezuelan, whatever it may be, man. Y'all gonna have to start talking to them and letting them know, man, there's an etiquette out here on this road.
Okay.
And
Number three,
what we can make the situation better is, we're gonna have to, like I said, we're gonna have to become more visible. You know what I mean? And in the visibility, I like all the TikTok and all that, showing the dancing and, all the trivial stuff, just to entertain folks when it comes to the trucking industry.
Right.
And my young ladies, they want to show, they could be sexy and be behind the wheel. I get all that. But we going to have to, once again, be more visible, you know what I'm saying, for the real life situations that you have to deal with as a driver out there on that road. Because as long as they can hide it, you know what I mean, and don't really know, the more they're going to be able to benefit off of it.
All right.
Right.
There you have it. Any final remarks before we close out today?
I'm not one of them type of people that want to be a driver, you know what I'm saying, want to pit myself against a younger driver. I've been driving over 20 years. I got a son, man. I taught him and put him in the industry at 21 years old, and he out on that road handling his business. You know what I mean? So some people got trucking in their blood. They're not first generational drivers. If they want to be 18 years old or whatever it may be to get out there, they feel like they want to drive that truck because it's in them to be one, then, hey, let them do it. I'm not going to say that it don't pose a risk.
Right.
But that's what the AI camera for.
Okay.
If that young driver know that AI camera or watching their every move, then of course they're gonna drive the truck, you know what I'm saying, with some type of maturity. The real problem is it's causing us on the back end by not having the retention of quality drivers. That's making the insurance go up. I feel, me personally, is the major issue with a lot of this the wrecks and having a shortage of driver, man, is really because the immigration issue.
All right. Well, there you have it. Let us know your thoughts about this issue, whether or not you think there's truly a driver shortage, whether or not, these remedies, they're, quick fixes are really addressing the issue, or whether or not there's a deeper problem. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Before we go, to remind y'all, the rates are because of capacity within a certain area when the broker is posting the load.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what's making the rates lower.
Mm-hmm.
Capacity when they able to see how many drivers are in the area looking for loads. Because overall, we know it's a driving shortage because inventory on these shelves is not the same as it was 10 years ago.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Thank you for
Truck
joining.
driver supposed to be the rock star.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Izigos, the Truckers Lounge. Until next time, have a good one. Thank you.